Hello everyone and welcome to this video. We're going to talk about the American Wrestling Association, the AWA. Probably one of the most, would you say, most recognizable wrestling companies in the world? Would y'all say that?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you talk about AWA, WWF, and the NWA.
Always one of the big three.
1984 for just a minute. It rolled around, and Nick Bockwinkel was the AWA World Heavyweight Champion at the time. But Baba wanted Jumbo Tsuruta to be the heavyweight champion. Verne Gagne never was a man that didn't want to make a little bit of money. Evidently, there was some money exchanged, so Jumbo Tsuruta could be the AWA heavyweight champion. February 22nd, 1984 in Tokyo, Japan, he defeated Nick Bockwinkel to become the AWA new kingpin. What did y'all think about? Jack, what did you think about Tsuruta being the AWA champion? Was that a good idea?
Well, business is business. If you're getting paid to make somebody a champ, you make somebody a champ. And quite frankly, I like Tsuruta. I thought he was a great guy in the ring. I enjoyed watching his matches. So it wasn't a bad choice.
Rodney, what did you think? What did you think about the change?
It gives it a worldwide appeal. Sure, it's a great idea because now you're saying now we are worldwide. Our AWA champion is not just a regional title. It's actually a worldwide title recognized by, places all over the world, and Japan would be one of them. So, yeah, it was a good idea.
Well, here's a picture right now of AWA World Heavyweight Champion Nick Bockwinkel. And here is a picture of Tsuruta with the title. Did he actually have the real title, or did they give him another belt? I mean, sometimes I'm wondering if it's if it's actually the same belt.
Yeah, I think that's the same belt.
It looks like the same belt to me.
Okay, I seen some pictures of it, and I was wondering if they ever actually gave him the real belt. The guy actually gave him, because Jack, didn't you say that belt was made in a prison?
From my understanding, yeah. And I don't know if that particular belt was the one that was made, but the one that Stan Hansen redecorated was.
Redecorated. That was a good word for it.
I like Stan.
In 1984, WWF owner Vince McMahon had already rated a lot of the AWA talent. So when you're thinking about 1984, you have to be thinking about that as well. They had took Hulk Hogan, they had took Jesse Ventura, David Schultz, Mean Gene Okerlund. I think probably in hindsight, Vince was probably hoping he didn't take David Schultz. After all that stuff that went on with John Stossel. But they started looking at Rick Martel as the AWA heavyweight champion. Actually, on May 13th, 1984, Rick Martel beat it to Tsuruta, Jumbo Tsuruta, and Minneapolis become the AWA world champion. I think that was a great choice, Rick Martel.
Oh, I do too. I thought Martel was at his peak as a wrestler during this time period. He got watered down when he went to WWF, but when he was the world's champion, I bought him as a world's champion. He was really, really good.
Rodney, what did you think about it?
They're very different because that's the first time they actually had a fan favorite be the world champion for a long time since, I guess, it's Verne Gagne. Was the champion. So yeah, I think it was a good move on their part, different direction than what they had been going
in. Some people at the time in 1984 said that Rick Martel was bland compared to Ric Flair, the NWA world champion, and Hulk Hogan. Was he bland? Was he a bland champion? I guess if you compared them with them, Jack.
Well, certainly those characters were over the top with Flair and Hogan. Martel just went out there. He did good interviews, but he went out there and did stuff in the ring that most people can't do, even today. He was. It's supposed to be a wrestling champion, and he was a wrestler.
Rodney, what did you think?
Martel was exactly who Verne Gagne wanted. He didn't really care for all the flash. He didn't really care for that. He was your wrestling guy, and he wanted a wrestler to be champion, not some gimmick. And that's the way I see it. Hulk Hogan is a gimmick. Ric Flair, a gimmick. Martel was a wrestler.
Well, during 1984 as well, the Sheiks, and that would have been Jerry Blackwell and Ken Patera, kept a strong hold on the AWA tag team titles, and they won them against Greg Gagne and Jim Brunzell. Every time Blackwell and Patera would be in danger of losing the tag team titles, the manager Sheik Alna El Casey would help them interfere and keep the titles. Jerry and Ken seemed destined for the lengthy title reign, but something would happen that would change Ken Patera's life forever. I think we all know what happened to Ken Patera and Mr. Saito at the McDonald's. Was it the McDonald's? Was it a McDonald's?
It was a McDonald's. It wasn't much of a McDonald's after they were through, but it was a McDonald's before it started.
On the night of April 6th, 1984, Ken Patera, Mr. Saito went to the McDonald's in, how do you say that? It's Waukesha. Is that Waukesha, Minnesota? Wisconsin. It was in Wisconsin, and were denied service by McDonald's employees. Ken became incensed and hurled a 30-pound rock through the window of the fast food establishment. Patera and Saito. I wonder if they got a burger after they did. Because Ken Patera said that there was burgers over there, and they just asked for those burgers, and they wouldn't give them to them. But they returned to their hotel, which, by the way, folks, was next door to the McDonald's. This story just gets weirder. It was next door. Now, why would you do that to the place next door? But anyway, he did. Two police officers arrived at the hotel to question the wrestlers. From what I've heard, Saito's the one that answered the door. Saito did not understand a lot of English. I think he went on for years and never understood English, but he didn't understand English there. They resisted arrest and attacked the police officers. I think that's really what got them in trouble, the beating up the police officers. One of whom was a 19-year-old female. The female police officer received several broken teeth and ruptured appendix, while her male counterpart suffered a broken leg. Patera and Saito were eventually subdued by many other police officers and were taken to jail.
Many others.
That's what this says. Many other police officers. With all the bad press this incident received, it was time for Patera to leave the AWA. So he and Blackwell dropped the AWA tag team titles to the Crusher and Baron von Raschke on May 6, 1984 in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Guys, so what do we take of Ken Patera's and Mr. Saito's Big Mac attack?
Not the smartest thing in the world. If I remember correctly, Patera did some prison time over this?
I think he did.
And Saito got kicked out of the country, and I don't believe he ever got to come back again.
No.
Well, it says several months later, reading through it, Patera and Saito were sent to jail and ended up serving 18 months for what they did right there. It shows you, if they don't have a burger, go get you a Slim Jim.
That is correct. Let me tell you,
one of the things I do remember is that when Patera was in prison, is that Vince put him under a contract and sent his family a check every month while Ken was in prison, with the understanding that when he got out, he would come to work for Vince.
Wow.
Yeah, that's good.
Rodney, what did you think?
Well, there's no hamburger at McDonald's worth going to jail over. I'll just tell you right now. Send all cards and letters and also terrible things to those McDonald's fans. You just put them in the comments below.
We now, Jack, we're never going to have McDonald's as our sponsor on this program. We were working so hard on it.
Good. I've lost almost 40 pounds doing without them. So good.
With all the defections, I guess that's how you'd say the word, to the WWF, Verne Gagne needed new talent to fill the void. So, two well-known tag teams of professional wrestling, first of them being the fabulous ones, Steve Keirn and Stan Lane, make their way there. And as far as that, they got over in Memphis wrestling. Did y'all watch them? Either one of y'all watch them? Did they get over in the AWA?
No.
Jack, did they get over there? Or?
No, and I hate to say that, but no, they didn't. They didn't.
No,
get over.
no, that
There were two Southern guys, and again in that Northern territory up there, they just were not a fit.
Well, another tag team that would make their way there would be these, the Road Warriors, with Precious Paul Ellering would make their way as well. They left Ole Anderson's World Championship Wrestling. I think they got over there. What do y'all think?
Oh, big.
Yeah, that was a great move, and they put them in the right position. They put them in the right position up there as well.
Well, they wasted no time. Once they got there on August 25th, they would win the AWA World Tag Team titles in Las Vegas, Nevada. I think we all remember this. I think we all remember Pro Wrestling USA. Jack, what did you think about this program that Verne Gagne and several others?
I thought it was a tremendous idea. I thought it could have been a big thing to compete against Vince, but nobody could set their egos aside and work together. Everybody wanted to be the boss, and you can't have that many chiefs, when you're trying to do something.
Rodney, what did you think about this thing?
Well, this is exactly the same thing that happened to the National Wrestling Alliance. Same exact thing. They couldn't work with each other, and thusly, down they go.
In 1985, in September of 1985, Verne Gagne did have an agreement with ESPN, and he would broadcast the AWA matches on this show. What did y'all think about the AWA show on ESPN, Rodney?
I liked the show. I mean, it was a classy show. It was done at the Showboat Pavilion. The announcer there, he had a great voice. You just didn't want to see him. I mean, he had the face.
Rod Trudgard.
That's right. He was great. He had a fantastic voice, and the show was decent. I thought it was decent. Talent was decent. I thought it was a decent show.
Jack?
Well, I think they had a match with Bockwinkel and Henning that was probably one of the greatest wrestling matches I have ever seen in my life, and it was the full duration of the show. I mean, as soon as the show started, the bell rang, and it didn't end until the show was going off there, and it was fantastic. I have great memories of AWA on ESPN.
Let's bring back up the Road Warriors picture for just a second. They dominated while they were there. I mean, they beat everybody. They beat the fabulous ones. They beat Larry and Kurt Hennig. They beat the Bruiser and the Crusher. They beat the Blackjacks, Jerry Lawler and Austin Idol, Manny Fernandez and Dusty Rhodes. And they would get into a feud with these men, the fabulous Freebirds, Michael Hayes, Terry Gordy, not pictured here, but I think that's Ken Resnick. Was that his name that was the announcer? The fabulous Freebirds gave the Warriors all they could handle. They were the first team that did that. The matches between the Road Warriors and Freebirds never resulted in a decisive win either way. I don't think either one of them got beat. The Freebirds did score a controversy win over Honkin' Animal on September 28, 1985 in Chicago Soldier Field. It appeared the Freebirds had won the AWA Tag Team titles, but the decision was reversed after the match, allowing the titles to reign with the Road Warriors. Dusty must have gave them that finish. The next night in St. Paul, Minnesota, Honkin' Animal wasn't so fortunate. Freebirds interfered in the Warriors' title defense against Jim Garvin and Steve Regal. They would win the AWA Tag Team titles. And what did y'all think about them as Garvin and Steve Regal as tag team champions?
I thought they were good. They meshed well together. Yeah, it was the first time I'd ever seen Garvin, and I was really impressed with him. And Steve Regal is a workhorse.
Yes. Rodney, what did you think about Steve Regal?
Awesome. They were awesome and precious. Yeah, that was good stuff. No doubt about it.
During this time, Rick Martel had beaten everyone as well. He had beaten Michael Hayes, Jimmy Garvin, Butch Reed, Nick Bockwinkel, the Masked Superstar, Kamala, King Tonga. But then the international superstar by the name of Stan the Larry Hansen was brought in to challenge him to the title, and he would win the AWA World Heavyweight Championship on December 29th, 1985 in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Jack, I know you talked a little bit about Stan Hansen. What did you think about his title reign?
I thought he was a tremendous champion. You know, from a promoter's view, I can understand why they wanted to take the belt off of him. You know, Stan was committed to Japan. That's where he made his real money. And Verne didn't like that. When he was going to honor all those commitments and not give Verne a cut of what he had already established over there, you know, Verne kind of crossed the line with Stan, and Stan went home and took the belt with him. And then when Verne demanded that the belt be returned, he did. After he had run over it with his pickup truck a few times, he did package it up and mail it back to Verne.
Rodney, what did you think about Stan Hansen, AWA World?
I agree with Jack on this one. But yeah, he's not going to give up his Japan trips. Nobody gives up the Japan trips. Bill Eadie didn't give them up. Terry Gordy didn't give them up. That was the deal. And to think that he would have the audacity to ask for somebody else's work is you know, Verne, I don't know what he was thinking, but yeah, that was not a good idea. Stan had every right. Destroying the belt, I'm not sure about that. It looked like it had already been destroyed even when he had it. Not sure much more you could do with it. It looked kind of beat up and everything already. Dire need of a new one.
Stan Hansen was a good AWA World Champion. I knew that was not going to last long. I mean, you're putting the title on a man that is not going to give up his Japan trips. That was just ridiculous.
Well, in fact, he'd already gave Verne all his upcoming dates. And, you know, Verne knew this was coming.
Sure.
So it wasn't like he pulled it on him all of a sudden.
You know what? A smart person would have been able to work this in. It's not good for your champion to be in every town every single week. It's always good to give him that worldwide appeal and then say, okay, the world champion now is in Japan for the 6 weeks. And then, you know, you build up to his return. And in the meantime, you've got all these other situations of people jockeying to be number one when he comes back.
Well, we all know you didn't want to go to Stan Hansen face to face and say anything to him. Man, no doubt about that.
I just can't believe he'd think he'd want part of what Stan was getting from Japan. That makes no sense whatsoever. I've never known that.
Well, folks, we have so much more we can talk about the AWA, but we're running a little. Go ahead, Jack.
One quick point. At first the show, we were talking about the first champion. The first AWA champion was Pat O'Connor. And the reason he was a champion was because he had been a former NWA World Champion beforehand. And Verne thought this would give the AWA even more credibility, which it did.
There we go. Pat O'Connor. I knew somebody out there would know, and Jack told us before we left this video. We are going to talk more about the AWA, the American Wrestling Association. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, give us the big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and do one step further, hit that notification bell. It'll let you know every time we upload a video right here on Pro Wrestling Inside and Out. Until then, we'll see you later.